Bah, 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 bah. That's what I'm talking about, Jeff. That's what I'm talking about. See, how did it feel? How did
Felt
it
great.
feel?
Felt natural.
It felt natural. See,
Yeah.
it's just a fun thing to do to start off a show. It's just a nice way to have a nice little laugh ahead of time. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. I love it.
What's going on, guys? Thank you very much for being on the Blue Review every day here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. Today we have Jeff Spiegel. Every Friday we're going to have Jeff Spiegel from Dodger Blue, and you can see him on Dodger Heads. How many times a week do you do Dodger Heads, Jeff?
We're 3 nights a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and then we got some interviews and stuff that post in the mornings as well. But 3 live shows a week.
3 live shows a week, and now me, Greg Bergman, are on with you every Thursday night. So everything that we said last night, we're just going to say again today in the morning. So if you didn't catch Dodger Heads last night on Dodger Blue, you get to hear all the same things today again. No. We're going to talk about different stuff. I'm in a situation, Jeff, where I forgot my charger to my laptop. So I'm at about 40%. And, when you're doing live content like this, the battery just sucks out of these old laptops. So you may have to just take over for a while.
Great. I'm just going to start making up opinions that you allegedly have. If you disappear, it's going to be like, well, let me tell you all the things Greg tells me offline that he'll never say out loud in public, but that I promise he said on via text message or something like that. So
the crazy thing is that if you look at our chat, they're going to believe everything that you say because, oh yeah, that totally sounds like something Greg would say. So it wouldn't be a big deal. All right. So just before we get started, the Blue Review, as always, brought to you by LAX. Thank you to LAX. Changes are arriving daily, transforming the travel experience. For more information, go to flylax.com/transforminglax. So one of the things that we talked about yesterday, Jeff, and I want to start here just because this is the bit that I do, the thing, we have villains on this team. We've talked about it when you've been on the show. Marcus doesn't really have one yet. He's kind of looking for one, but he can't figure out how it's going to be. You have one in Austin Barnes, which, valid, totally fine. I chose mine yesterday, and mine is now Michael Conforto. How do you feel about who I chose as my villain for the year?
I think you're going to regret it. I'll say that much, which, like last year it was Vesia. All Vesia needed was to hear that you weren't a huge fan of his, and then he became like one of the best relievers in Major League Baseball. So I'm just hoping for a repeat with Conforto. I'm a Conforto guy. I know it hasn't been an awesome start so far this season. I think there's some numbers that kind of hint at why that is. Whether or not he can fix those things remains to be seen. But I joked last night. I'm impressed. This is why you're a professional radio guy, because you picked a villain in Conforto that nobody has had a strong affinity to. He's new. Nobody loves him. You're not hating on a guy that like people owning jerseys already. So I like this. You pick a villain, but nobody's going to hate you for it.
Well, though, people didn't really hate me for Alex Vesia at the time last year, but they were very quick to point out that, hey, Alex Vesia is now pitching well, so you're an idiot for picking this as your villain. That's kind of the point of all this. It's the reverse jinx aspect of it. This is going to make Conforto better because obviously what I say makes that big of a difference. But so tell me your advanced stats from behind, because this is, as we all know on Dodger Blue at least, and when you're on here, you're a very big advanced stats guy, and I'm very much an eye test and what I see kind of guy. So tell me why I am going to regret Michael Conforto.
Well, the one thing is you love on-base percentage. He's a 90th percentile walk guy. So the on-base percentage has been actually pretty good. 357 so far this season. Not amazing, but it's definitely not terrible. The batting average has been poor. The slugging has been poor. But I was looking at, they have these numbers that talk about like, what's the average exit velocity? How often are you barreling a ball up? What's your hard hit rate? That kind of stuff. And all his numbers are down. And I'm trying to figure out like what exactly is happening. And here's the number that jumps out to me when I scroll through his page over on Baseball Savant. They break down when you're pulling the ball, when you're hitting it up the middle, and when you're hitting it to the opposite side. How often are you hitting ground balls, and how often are you hitting fly balls? And you can imagine anybody who's ever played baseball, if you want to hit a ball hard, you want to pull it in the air. That's the goal, right? Because that's where all your power is going to be. Last season, he was pulling the ball in the air 22% of the time. His career average is like 18%. This season, he's pulling the ball in the air 5.4% of the time. And so when you look at all those numbers, if you're not pulling the ball in the air, you're not going to hit it as hard. You're not going to have the launch angle stuff, the exit velocity, all that. So to me, that would be the key with Conforto is, can he start getting ahead of stuff and pulling it in the air to his pull side. Because if he does that, then all the rest of that stuff is going to follow. So that's the number that jumps out to me. Everything else there, ground ball rates, up the middle in the air, opposite in the air are pretty normal. It's the pull side lifting that has been the issue for Conforto.
Okay, so if he can fix that, then maybe he can be someone that kind of flips it around. I just with Conforto, when the signing happened, I was very anti the signing. I understood why they did it because they weren't sure about Teo, but I didn't like it then. And then the more then the first week of the season, you're like, okay, he's getting a couple hits. Okay, maybe he can do something. Oh, he hit a home run. Oh, he hit a second home run. Oh, well, okay, maybe it's a little bit better. Then he just fell apart and can do nothing, basically. He's not a great outfielder. He's grounding into double plays, and that's really big when you're with the 5 or 6 in the 5 or 6 hole, because you have the top 4 on base. You have the Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, Teo on base. You have to be a guy that drives those guys in. And if you're going to be in that 5-6 hole with 5 RBIs on the season, that to me is a problem.
Yeah, I think it's 10 games since his last home run and his last RBI. So I'm with you. And none of this is me defending what we've seen from Conforto so far. It's more so looking at what could change. One other thing that jumps out real quick, I forgot to mention, he isn't doing damage against the fastball. Last season against fastballs, he was hitting 283 with a 547 slugging percentage. This year, he's hitting 180 with a 330 slugging percentage. And so he's actually faring better against breaking balls and off-speed pitches than he did last season. But again, where are you going to do the most damage? It's going to be on fastballs. Protect against breaking balls, protect against off-speed, and do damage on the fastball. He's not doing it. So can he start to hit the fastball a little bit better, go back to some career averages, and can he lift it to his pull side? Those are two sort of key things to just watch when Conforto's in the game and he's up at the plate. Those are things I would keep an eye on.
All right, so that's what we're going to keep an eye on. We're going to move on to a little bit what's going on for the weekend, but I just want to make sure it's Friday. I think on Fridays this is something that we like to do, and then I'm going to try and pay attention to the chat as much as I possibly can. And also, Graham, while you're back there, if you see a really good question, go ahead. Even if we're in the middle of a conversation, pop it up on the screen so that we can address that question when we get to it. But please put your question in the chat for Jeff and we will go on from there. This weekend. So this weekend, I think, is a pretty interesting test for the Dodgers because they're going to go to Texas, where that is a teeny tiny ballpark. There's a lot of home runs that are hit in that ballpark. And the pitching matchup tonight, if this was maybe 3 years ago, we'd be like, wow, what a pitching matchup. It's Yoshi Yamamoto versus Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom could have been one of the best pitchers ever in baseball at one point. His stuff is just nasty. He has, because he's gone through so many different injuries and he's never healthy, and I think he had Tommy John too. He has just been a problem, and now he's not really pitching all that well this year. What do you see from this matchup, Yamamoto deGrom?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy when you look at, so he made 32 starts back in 2018 and 2019. Since then on deGrom, this is from 2020 through 2025. 12 starts, 15 starts, 11 starts, 6 starts, 3 starts, and then 3 starts this season. So it's been brutal. The good news for the Dodgers is that he just hasn't been that good in his last 2 outings. He had a nice debut against the Red Sox, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs. And it's kind of like, all right, maybe deGrom is back. Last 2 outings, 9 2/3 combined, 7 earned runs, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. So you hear deGrom, he's scary. You're thinking nasty stuff, strikeout rate. It's just not who he is, at least at this point in the season, at this point in his career. So I think this is a huge advantage in the pitching matchup for the Dodgers. Both teams coming off series sweeps, both teams riding high. So this should be a fun one tonight. I know you and I are both big Yamamoto fans.
Yeah. Yamamoto is by far, in my mind, our ace for this team. It's just like deGrom had so much potential. He was scary. When he pitched against the Dodgers in the playoffs, it was like, oh my God, this guy is going to be fantastic. And he hasn't panned out that way because of all the injuries. Does this matchup, do you feel good because what you saw from the last 2 games about the Dodgers in this matchup and how do you think that carries over from that Rocky series, or is it kind of like, okay, now you have a real team, this is going to be different?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think as fans, we see deGrom and we're like, would maybe are projecting nerves onto, are they going to be able to hit this guy? I imagine the Dodgers, as they're doing their prep, they ignore the name and they just look at the stats. They look at the profile and they say, this is a guy we can get to. So I feel good about tonight. Dodgers riding some momentum, 3-game win streak against the Rockies, day off. Now they're back on the road. But Yamamoto is just so good. And so deGrom Yamamoto on the marquee will sell tickets, but when you dig into the numbers, it's a mismatch. And the Dodgers have a huge advantage in the starting pitching category. I remain in my belief that they're a much better team in every phase than just about everybody they're going to face. And so the bats are starting to get healthy. Again, they had an off day. They got a little momentum against Colorado. I do feel good about this matchup in particular with Yamamoto on the mound.
So what do you expect to see from Yamamoto tonight? He at his last 3 starts, I mean, basically all of his starts this year have been nothing but phenomenal.
Yeah.
So he's has his strikeout rates are up, his swing and misses stuff is up, the splitter is splitting extremely well. His fastball is being placed within the zone. He's getting guys off balance. What are you seeing from Yamamoto?
I mean, you could make a case that what we saw from him last time out may have been like his best start ever in the major league. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, no runs against that Cubs team. The Dodgers win 3-0. He just has everything. And I think the piece that maybe we didn't talk enough about in the offseason was just the comfort level of having been in the major leagues for an entire year. You're used to the ball. The Dodgers had implemented some of their changes. We know they slowly develop guys and say, hey, focus on these 2 pitches. Then we'll mix in the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th. 2025, he's got the whole bag working for him. He's comfortable in the Dodgers uniform. He's comfortable in the United States. He's used to the baseball. He had an off season to rest, recover, and develop. And so this is the guy they gave literally the biggest contract a starting pitcher has ever received to. And we're starting to see why. So I was shocked. I was looking this morning. The over-under on strikeouts is 5.5. You can get plus 135 if you want to go 7 or more strikeouts for Yamamoto. As somebody who lives in a state in which you're allowed to partake in those types of things, I jumped on that opportunity because you and I both predicted 7 and 8 strikeouts tonight. You can get plus money on that if you happen to live in a place that allows you to place such wagers.
There's always places that you can find them. We have Prize Picks, we have Underdog, we have a lot of Sleeper. There's places that you can just pick more or less, and that's the way that all works out. So yes, you can. You are not actually betting against spreads. You are just saying more or less than 7.5 strikeouts. You know what I'm saying? So yes, that is very much a thing that can happen. I got Roy Estrada in the chat says deGrom getting hit tonight. Dodgers chase him by the 4th inning. Well, I would love for that to happen. I think, and really, if they do what they have been doing against the Rockies, and I understand it's the Rockies, if they stay patient, I think they had 10 hits in every single one of those games against the Rockies. So if they stay patient, get walks, the bats are swinging, I think they can absolutely get a hold of him. Yeah. On Saturday, we get to see Roki Sasaki again. I am really starting to like what I'm seeing from Roki Sasaki. It's getting better and better each time out. He's going to have ups and downs. He could get knocked around tomorrow. He could not get knocked around tomorrow. But I like what I'm seeing because by going after Yamamoto, I feel like they have similar styles of pitching with the fastball to offset that splitter.
Yeah.
What are you expecting out of Sasaki?
It's trending in the right direction, which I think is a positive sign. I think there was I don't want to say reason for concern after the first 2 outings, but I think there was reason to be patient, to slow our roll a little bit. I know he's the number 1 prospect in baseball. He was all that. And it's like, he's a prospect in a lot of people's mind, and I don't think they're wrong. So it was nice to see that last outing. I mean, you look at the last 2, 9 innings, 7 hits, just 1 earned run in each of those 2 starts. Walks still a little bit of an issue. He has 13 walks in 13 innings. It's gotten a little better. The last 2, 4 walks across 9 innings, 7 strikeouts. So I think it's trending in the right direction. And every single one of these games is just an opportunity. I don't think Sasaki is at a place where the Dodgers are going to win a game because Sasaki just up and up dominates and carries them to a victory like Yamamoto did against the Cubs in a 3-0. I don't think they're going to win a ton of Sasaki games like 3-0 or 3-1. I think the offense is going to have to come through. That said, I think Sasaki has gotten to a place where he's not going to kill them, Greg. I think it's going to be 1, 2, 3 earned runs, not a ton of innings, maybe 4, maybe 5. And then you hope the offense and the bullpen can sort of carry you past that. Because Eovaldi on the other side is, maybe you can make the case the Rangers' best pitcher at this point in his career. And so this will be, I think, the best pitching matchup we're going to see all weekend. But I think Sasaki's headed in the right direction. What is it about, you said you're encouraged. What is it about what you saw from Sasaki last week that left you encouraged?
The walks are down. I think that's what it's the biggest thing for me, because the walks for Sasaki was the main problem, because you could see in his face that he was frustrated. He's never had to deal with adversity like that, where he couldn't control his pitches in a way that he wanted to, or he wasn't fooling guys with a splitter the way he wanted to, because it's different in Japan. So if he was attacking, and in his first start, or maybe even his first two starts, he wasn't really attacking the plate. Throwing a first pitch fastball for a strike was a massive for him. Yeah. So when that happened, that made me feel much better about it. And the fact that he's getting out of innings and not giving up the big hit that gets 2 runs in, or get big home run that gets that's like what happened with Bobby Miller, that grand slam home run. I was encouraged because of that. If the walks are down and he's attacking the plate and using that fastball to offset the splitter, I think he's in a much better space.
Yeah. Again, looking at some of the underlying metrics, when we talk about the walk rate, he's 3rd percentile in walk rate. He's walking 20% of batters that he faces. But here's why. He's 6th percentile in chase rate. So when he throws a pitch that isn't a strike, nobody is swinging at it. And so a lot of guys can survive by making people believe it's going to be a strike, and then it disappears and they get chased. He's not getting any of that right now. So we talked about sort of a key for Conforto. Can he lift it to the pull side? With Sasaki, can he get any swing and miss out of the zone? Right now, he's not getting, and not even swing and miss, I should say. Can he get swings out of the zone? Right now, he's not getting any swing on pitches that are outside the strike zone. And we know the splitter is going to live outside the strike zone. So that's a dangerous combination that I think explains why we've seen some struggles and some walks to start his career.
I think that's exactly what it was, because that's what was happening in his last start. He attacked the zone and they were swinging at that splitter. They were swinging at the pitch outside the zone. So if that continues, I think he's going to be just fine. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. Before we get into Sunday's matchup of Glasnow versus Maley, I think let's get a couple of these questions that I'm seeing here. Skimmer 930, is Gonsolin the answer to the rotation hole? And when is he back from rehab? We talked a little bit about this last night, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, Dave says he's going to make another start in Oklahoma City. I know there's a hole in the rotation next week against the Cubs. It does not sound like that's going to be Tony Gonsolin. However, I think this will be the last time that it is not Tony Gonsolin plugging that hole in the rotation. I'm a big Tony Gonsolin fan. I think the sample size for his career is big enough to where even if he doesn't pass the eye test, and even if it doesn't look as sexy as some of the other guys, he just continues to prevent other teams from scoring runs, which is your goal as a starting pitcher. So I think Gonsolin is an underrated pitcher. I think he's going to plug into the 6-man rotation and be a big boost, because we talked, I'm sure on this show a ton. Bobby Miller comes up, makes a spot start terrible. Robleski comes up, makes a spot start terrible. Knack makes a spot start terrible. So if they could just get a guy in that 6th spot that doesn't stink, I think they'll be in better shape than they have been. They keep winning without it, but Gonsolin's going to be a massive upgrade over what they've gotten.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And I see also, to back off of this, Roy Estrada, why does Gonsolin have to go 5 innings in OKC before we call him up? None of the fill-ins we have used have gone past 3 innings. Gonsolin can give us 4 innings and minimize damage. I think you were kind of alluding to it there, is basically the fact that he can go 5 innings. They want him to get to there because he's going to be that guy moving forward. Yeah. They really believe that Gonsolin is the guy that's going to be there. All those other guys were just spot start guys to fill in and just fill in holes at a time. So if Gonsolin was supposed to be the fifth, it was a fight between Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin for who was going to be that 5th starter, and they gave it to May because Gonsolin got hurt. So he's someone that they fully trust, and he was great before. So they want him fully stretched out. Can go 5 innings and maybe even longer. Once he gets to that 5-inning mark, then it's like, okay, you can come up, be our 6th starter, and we don't have to worry about these Robleskis of the world.
Totally. Although, come on, the Robleskis of the world. Some of us like the Robleskis of the world, okay? Gonsolin only threw 66 pitches his last time out. I think I was probably on here a week ago saying, instead of Bobby Miller, why not go Gonsolin? And I made the joke, like, chances are Bobby Miller's might not get out of the 3rd inning anyway. So if Gonsolin can only give you 4, that might be better than what Miller gives you. Turns out that was fairly accurate, unfortunately. But they're going to try and get him, Gonsolin, if he can go 75 to 80 pitches in his next outing. By the time he comes up to LA, he's closer to that 90 pitch mark. I think they're just going to feel good. They don't want to know from the get-go that they're going to kill their bullpen, even if many of us could have seen the Bobby Miller experiment not going super well.
God, I really wanted Bobby Miller experiment to go well. I really thought it was going to go well even at the game, and it just fell apart in the third inning. And it's fully up in his head. I'm not sure if it's ever going to come back. Craig Osterberg has a question that we have talked a lot about over our time together. Is Pages turning the corner on hitting? So how are you feeling about Pages recently?
Yeah, I think the best series he's had all season against Colorado. I forget what we said. I think he's like 3 for 11 with a handful of walks or something like that.
That was Muncy.
Oh, that was Muncy. I'm sorry. I do think it's improving. I think they're just going to be patient, more patient than many people probably would like to see with a guy like this, but they just don't have a ton of options. That's right. He was 3 for 10 with a walk against Colorado, but he went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs in that last game. The bat, what's interesting about Pages is the bat was actually never the concern. He was a prospect coming up through the system. The question was never, is he going to be able to hit? Obviously, he struggled to hit this year. He was league average last year. So all that's to say, I'm less concerned about the bat eventually figuring it out and turning it around. The defense, we've beat that one over the head. It's concerning. But the Dodgers are just patient with guys like Pages. They were patient with Lux last year. And I just think they're going to continue being patient because they want this to work. The best version of this team involves Pages figuring it out. So they're going to give him as much runway as they can.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. They are going to give him a lot of runway. And that the last game, the game on Wednesday, actually kind of hopefully changed things for Pages. He got hits with runners in scoring position. He drove in, I think, 2 or 3 runs. So that was huge for him. In 2 separate at-bats, he got hits with runners on base. And that's a massive, massive thing for him because he was striking out a lot in those situations, grounding out, popping up. He just wasn't seeing the ball very well. He has been patient this year, and I think is almost a little bit too patient. He was looking for the walk because he was in that 9 hole, so he's looking for the walk to get back to Shohei. And I think he was a little bit more aggressive now, but still being patient. He's taking a lot of pitches, which is actually a solid thing that I like seeing from him. But once he starts being a little bit more patient, getting hits in big spots and not just swinging for the fences, because that's not kind of what you need from Pages. If he gets you a couple of home runs, cool, but really just keep the line moving. You're going to be in those bottom 3 spots. Keep the line moving. Get runners on, get yourself on. That's the more important thing. So, yes, I do see a little bit of a turn. It's not quite there yet, but a little bit of a turn in my opinion.
Well, I mean, the reason he should be swinging for the fences, Greg, is because then he doesn't have to run the bases. The problem with getting a walk or a single or something is we have to try and watch him go first to third. So let's just swing for the fences, Andy.
That is a fantastic point. Absolutely. All right, JM says, what is the status of Gratterall? Does he come back this season? I know he's on the 60-day IL, and it could be very similar to last year, right, where he comes back towards August.
Yeah, I thought he was out for the season. I know he's out for at least the first half of the season. I'm skeptical. I think this shoulder stuff that he's going through is scary, scary stuff. And so, is there a world where he makes it back? Yes. There's been reports maybe postseason time. Like when I hear a guy is going to try and get back by the postseason, I just sort of cross them off in dark colored pencil and say, I'm not getting my hopes up.
That's probably the smart thing to do. And Gratterall had his moments, and when he is healthy, he is a great pitcher to have on this roster because he gets really soft contact despite throwing 100 miles an hour, which is a weird thing to say, but he does a lot of things that really help. He gets a lot of ground balls. So yeah, I would love to have him back, but I'm with you. I don't expect him back at all. This is a question I think that you'll be great to answer. Where did it go? Jasmeet. Whose spots will Phillips and Kopech take when they are back?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know every Dodgers fan is going to be thrilled to hear the first name out of my mouth, which is Luis Garcia. I think he will be the first person to go.
See ya.
And Evan Phillips is due back quickly. He did a back-to-back. He's going to throw one more time in Oklahoma City this weekend, and then I think he will be back with the Dodgers, I would imagine, by that Cubs series. He's back in LA and in the mix. So That's one. Then that's where I think it gets interesting after that, because really the only two options they have would be Kasperius and Jack Dreyer. One of those guys would need to be sent back down to AAA, because you look, Bonda can't be optioned. I'm not saying any of these guys would be, but I'm just telling you, like, they don't have a choice with Bonda, Scott, Treinen. I believe they could send Vesia down, unlikely, and Kirby Yates. So they can't send down. So it's probably Kasperius versus Dreyer. And that's an interesting one, Greg, because I think a week ago it was like, well, Jack Dreyer, thanks for your service. We got a couple other lefties in Bonda and Vesia and Tanner Scott. I'm not sure we need you. We gave him on our show the dog of the week, because he's in his last 11 innings, basically since coming over from Tokyo, 7 appearances, a little more than 11 innings. He's allowed 1 hit.
That's all great points. I just looked at the clock and it's 8:55. That was a really fast Blue review. So sorry, we can get more into that next week. I think it's a great topic to talk about, what happens when Evan Phillips and Michael Kopech come back. But thank you very much for being on the Blue review. Thank you, Jeff Spiegel. And if you want to see more of Jeff Spiegel, DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 on Twitter, and also Dodger Heads on YouTube. So make sure to go check him out, or at Jeff Spiegel is his handle. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday. Have a great day. Thanks, LAX.